For over a century, this was the most iconic Viking warrior burial ever found. A sword, an axe, spears, 2 shields, a gaming board, and 2 war horses. Unearthed in 1878, it appeared in textbooks as the definition of elite male leadership. Nobody questioned it. Then DNA returned 2 X chromosomes, and what followed wasn't just a reclassification, it was a reckoning that would rewrite the Viking Age itself. In the summer of 1878, Hjalmar Stolpe, a Swedish archaeologist with a meticulous eye for detail, opened a chamber grave on the windswept heights of Birka. He found a burial unlike any other, a stone-lined chamber positioned on an elevated terrace just beyond the garrison wall, in full view of the settlement below. Inside, the inventory was staggering. There were 2 swords, one with a finely decorated hilt, a sturdy axe, a pair of lances, a spearhead, a seax fighting knife, and a shield boss with fragments of a wooden shield. Scattered near the warrior's side lay a cluster of armor-piercing arrowheads, their points still sharp after centuries underground. But the arsenal did not end there. At the foot of the grave, the skeletons of 2 horses, one on each side, rested with their iron bits and leather harness fittings still in place. A wooden gaming board, its squares painted faint red and black, sat near the head, flanked by a full set of carved playing pieces. Bronze brooches, a twisted metal necklace, and a decorative cuff completed the display. Every object was carefully catalogued in Stolpe's field notes, each assigned an accession number that would follow it through museum collections for generations. Among more than 1,100 burials at Birka, only 75 contained any offensive weapon. Only 2 graves, BJ 581 and another BJ 945, held a complete warrior's kit with horses and status symbols. For decades, this grave was the textbook example of a Viking warrior's final resting place, the gold standard by which all others were measured. The burial's location, the full arsenal, and the presence of elite gaming equipment all pointed in one direction. Here lay a leader, a commander, a person of power. That assumption, grounded in the objects themselves, would stand unchallenged for over a century, shaping how scholars and the public alike imagined the Viking world. Anna Kjellström approached the bones from grave BJ 581 with a forensic precision that left little room for guesswork. On her table, the pelvis, fragmented but intact enough for CT reconstruction, offered up its secrets. The subpubic angle measured 78 degrees. In Viking remains, anything above 75 degrees is a strong indicator of female anatomy. The greater sciatic notch, another reliable marker, also matched female standards. Each measurement, compared against both medieval Scandinavian and modern European reference samples, pointed to the same conclusion. These were the bones of a woman. Kjellström brought her findings to the Society for American Physical Anthropology in the early 2010s, aware she was challenging a century of assumption. For generations, the grave's swords, horses, and gaming pieces had been enough to declare the occupant a male warrior. Now, that certainty began to unravel. Some scholars pushed back immediately, suggesting the bones might have been mixed with remains from a nearby grave, or that post-mortem changes had skewed the results. Others questioned whether modern standards of sexual dimorphism could be applied to Viking Age skeletons at all. The idea that one of the most iconic warrior graves in Scandinavia could belong to a woman was, for many, almost impossible to accept. Yet the evidence stood firm. CT scans showed no distortion. Chain of custody records traced every fragment back to Stolpe's original excavation. No signs of a second individual emerged. Still, resistance lingered, driven by the implications for both scholarship and cultural myth. The debate now demanded proof beyond osteology, a verdict only DNA could deliver. Charlotte Hedenstierna Johnson's team began their work in a laboratory built for ancient secrets. They selected 2 samples from the grave, a canine tooth to monitor for contamination, and a fragment of human humerus. Every tool and surface was sterilized, bone powder was drilled under ultraviolet light, and DNA was drawn out using a protocol designed for the fragile threads left after a millennium underground. canine tooth acted as a silent guard, confirming that the ancient DNA was not tainted by modern handlers or stray museum dust. In both the tooth and the bone, contamination measured less than 2%, a level that would not sway the result. The sequencing run produced nearly 1 billion DNA fragments. Technicians compared how many of these fragments matched the X chromosome and how many matched the Y chromosome. The answer was direct. Every read pointed to 2 X chromosomes. No trace of a Y chromosome. No ambiguity. The verdict was biological female, confirmed by genome-wide analysis, not just a single marker or a partial sequence. Hayden Stierna Johnson published the result in 2017, ending the debate over the skeleton's sex, with the kind of finality usually reserved for a courtroom. The weapons, the horses, the gaming board, all belonged to a woman. For the first time, the most famous Viking warrior burial in Scandinavia could no longer be read as a story about men alone. The DNA findings at grave BJ 581 ignited a fierce debate. Judith Jesch, a prominent scholar in Viking gender studies, cautioned against equating weapons with battlefield experience. In her 2019 article in Antiquity, she argued that grave goods, even swords and axes, could represent status, memory, or ritual, not necessarily a warrior's life. Jesch pointed to other Scandinavian female burials with weapons, but none matched the full array or the horses found at BJ 581. For her, the evidence was ambiguous, and she warned against letting modern ideas about gender shape ancient narratives. Others echoed Jesch's skepticism, suggesting the warrior woman's story was more a reflection of current debates than solid archaeology. They argued that one extraordinary grave should not overturn centuries of scholarship. The original research team, led by Charlotte Hedenstierna Jonsson, fired back in Antiquity. They stressed that out of more than 1,100 Birka graves, only 2 had a complete warrior's kit, and just 1 belonged to a biologically female individual. The DNA was clear. The rare mix of weapons, horses, and a gaming board demanded a broader look at Viking gender roles, and called for a data set far beyond a single grave. In 2020, Eske Willerslev and his team sequenced the genomes of 442 people buried across the Viking world, from Scandinavia to the British Isles, Iceland, Greenland, and the Baltic. Their findings upended the old stereotype of Vikings as a single blonde-haired tribe. Most Viking-age Scandinavians actually had brown hair, even among elites, and the signature for blondness was less common than in Scandinavia today. Blue eyes were widespread, but the genetic picture was far from uniform. Many Viking burials revealed ancestry from southern Europe and Central Asia, and about 1 in 10 carried Mediterranean DNA, while others showed steppe ancestry from ancient migrations. The data pointed to a world shaped by movement, trade, and mixing. Willerslev's analysis made it clear Viking identity was not defined by a single genetic profile. Instead, it was a shared culture that included people with local and far-flung roots. The old image of ethnically pure Norsemen faded, replaced by evidence of diversity and integration. The Viking world, once imagined as homogeneous, emerged as a complex network of connections, shaped by centuries of travel, exchange, and adaptation. Across the Viking world, graves once thought to tell a simple story now reveal tangled roots and shifting identities. In the Orkney Islands, 2 burials from the Viking Age contain individuals whose DNA links them not to Scandinavia, but to local British and Irish populations. Their grave goods, swords, brooches, and ship fittings follow Norse patterns, yet their ancestry is native. Here, Viking was a cultural badge, not a matter of blood. On the windswept coast of Estonia, the Salmi boat burial holds a different kind of secret. 4 men, all brothers, were laid out side by side with their weapons, shields, and gaming pieces. Genome sequencing confirms they shared the same father, their Y chromosomes matching like pieces in a family puzzle. Their kin group stretches from Scandinavia to the Baltic, proof that some Viking raids were family ventures, not anonymous warbands. Genetic maps drawn from hundreds of ancient genomes reveal corridors of movement, Danish lines running into England, Swedish ancestry weaving through the Baltic, Norwegian ties reaching to the North Atlantic. These networks brought together people of different backgrounds, forging alliances and rivalries that crossed old boundaries. In this world, Viking identity flowed through adoption, kinship, and shared ambition, not just through inherited DNA. The graves at Orkney and Salmi stand as evidence that the Viking Age was less a story of a single people and more a web of connections, choices, and cultural change. Even the most iconic graves can mislead when old assumptions go unchallenged. Today, DNA makes clear that Viking identity and power defied simple categories. As science reshapes history, the real danger is not what we don't know, but what we accept without question. What other truths still lie buried?